What's up guys, Magic Knives here, and in this video I'm bringing to you a different kind of airsoft review video. This time, as you can see, it's on a scuba tank. This is the Faber FX high pressure scuba tank. This is specifically geared towards for those of you who are thinking about investing in a scuba tank so you can provide your own air refills at home. If the idea of having a loud compressor is too much for you, or maybe you just don't want to deal with the maintenance that comes with it over time, this is a nice old school method of doing so. Now, this is specifically the 120 cubic feet version. It comes in a bigger, an even bigger one at 133 cubic feet, and even one at 149 cubic feet. So you can imagine how large that gets. Now, specifically, we got these for our local airsoft field, which is the one that I help run, Solely Airsoft. If you haven't checked out my channel yet, you can obviously see some gameplay footage, and I basically am the lead coordinator for everything airsoft there. And this was something that was definitely on our list of things to invest in, because we've had a lot of people, especially HPA and speed softers, question and beg for us to have some way to provide HPA refills for them. And if you know anything about airsoft, it's well, especially if you're trying, if you know anything about running a field for airsoft, let alone paintball, having a Nuvair like HPA compressor, one of those large compressors with the large yellow Cascade tanks, those things can be upwards of like at least like five to like more like 10, close to $10,000. Okay, just to have the whole thing properly installed and set in place to provide free air refills for airsofters, and more even back even to this day paintballers, because that's their bread and butter thing. Like, they have to have that. For airsoft though, as you know, there's options. Like, there's cheaper options. You have AEGs, and you have gas blowbacks, and even more so, you can even just take a there's adapters that you can screw a HPA hose onto certain green gas cans, and HPA tap that way. Like, it's a disposable HPA setup, but that doesn't replace HPA as a whole, because in the end, you are gonna get more consistency with your shots. Yes, with an HPA setup, you can have a really insane trigger response with that, and of course you can adjust your FPS very easily on the fly, without having to take apart the gun and do all sorts of things. With that comes a super hefty price. Whether you're running HPA or you're an airsoft field having to provide HPA fills for players. So for any of you that if you follow Solely, or you follow me, or and just so and whatnot, it was just not on our bucket list. Like, it was like near the bottom, right? Like, we had a lot more important things to deal with than addressing this, because this was not, even with this being the cheapest option to provide us for HPA refills and hassle free, or at least with the least hassle, was having these. We got two of these. Okay, each one, I'm in Canada, let's not forget, and you know, our economy is pretty bad as it is right now, and it's only gonna get worse, unfortunately. But we got two of these. Each one's worth $1,000. Just, you know, for the 120 cubic feet inch. Sorry, so for the 120 cubic feet versions, these are at least $1,000 per tank. Right now, it was a good enough size because with solely public nights we only can hold up to 10 players. Private nights we hold up to 20. So until, you know, maybe if, you know, if we start hosting more Speedsoft events, because Speedsofters, they need their HPA, this was like the most cost effective means to provide that for people, and it's now providing the place with a little additional revenue, which is great. And in exchange, I'm just glad we can finally provide air for people, so people don't have to hold their breath as long when they're at our field or when they play at our field. As far as the tank goes, guys, what's really nice, the reason why I think Faber Scuba tanks, or the FX series of their tanks, is the best, because out of all the ones that I've seen online and the ones that I looked up, these provide the highest pressure air at this current time. In Canada and the United States, you cannot get or you cannot use any 4,500 psi scuba tanks that you know, that they're either sell from China or whatever. Don't make that mistake that I made, where I thought, you know, you could buy or that you could get 4,500 psi scuba tanks from China or whatever, and then use them here. Nah, scuba tanks in Canada, United States. So in the U.S. they have to be what they call DOT approved, and in Canada scuba tanks have to be TC approved, which is literally the same thing. Their regulations are pretty much the same. So if it's not DOT approved, let alone TC approved, scuba dive shops will not be allowed to legally fill it for you. And if you try to fill it yourself, you become a criminal. So don't be like me. Hopefully you watched this video before you invested in a Chinese scuba tank that is not TC or DOT approved, because hopefully you'll be able to get your money back. Okay. With that said, what's great about this holds well, as advertised, 3,442 psi. So literally almost 3,500 psi, which is really good. Like, since most airsoft and paintball tanks are dealing with, they deal with you're dealing with 3,000 psi. This will actually provide you more than 5 or 6 full HPA refills for people that are running 3,000 psi tanks. So even just for the short time that we've been using these tanks, remember you have 2 of them, which is great. So even if we start to get low on one, we can just move on to the next one and cascade to top off the rest. And I think for any airsoft field, if you're just doing this for yourself at home fills, then one's gonna be good enough. But I say if you're watching this video and you're ever thinking about running your own airsoft field one day, or you're in the midst of it, having 2 scuba tanks is the minimum. And I think Faber scuba tanks, especially if we can get even just the 120, or even just the 120, I'd say is enough. Just one alone is extremely heavy, and you don't want to be having to lug this thing around really long distances and stuff like that. So it's nice that having 2 of these for a airsoft field, or paintball field, if it's a small little thing. Again, that's assuming you cannot afford the $10,000 compressor and cascade tanks, budget, right? Because we're a low budget field as it is. So this is like by far, like, as far as a budget friendly way to provide HPA refills for yourself, or even just for your small little airsoft field, just like we have. I think this is like the best. This is gonna be your best option, no doubt, because as long as you can get a fill station like this that can accommodate up to 4,500 psi, then you're gonna be good. Like this one, I got this from Canada Shooting Supply. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want. But otherwise, if you can find something that's the same, it's gonna be no different, right? So you attach your tank to the fill station. Obviously, you know, if you've watched how to fill your HPA tanks with Scuba tanks on YouTube, then you know like how this all works, right? But basically, you will get at least, I'm sure, a good 15, maybe even 20 fills with this before you start dropping down to around 2,000, maybe, or even less than less than 2,000, before it's time for you to take it back to the Scuba shop and refill it. So now keep in mind, because this is 3,442 psi, you want to be a little more subconscious about if you're running a 3,000 psi tank. You're going to want to watch the gauge on your tank, just so you're not exceeding 3,000 psi and possibly damaging your tank. But what's great about that is even if you have a 4,500 psi tank, you can get a little bit more juice or air out of this tank as opposed to your standard 3,000 psi tank. So you can, you know, at least for the first fill or two, right, you're gonna get obviously a little over 3,000, so potentially up to 3,442 psi, right? Now this also means that if, let's say, we eventually invest or are able to invest in a 4,500 psi compressor, or if you decide to do this for yourself, if you're running 4,500 psi tanks, you can utilize both in combination. So start off with a Scuba tank, fulfill your 4,500 psi tank up to 3,000 or 3,442. It's the first fill, yeah. And then that way, when you run your compressor, you won't have to run it as long because it's already at like 3/4 there, right? So it'll save you the time of waiting, and it'll also reduce the or extend the time that that you won't have to do maintenance on your compressor. So it's a double benefit, right? So yeah, guys, overall, I'd say if you're looking for a, well, quote unquote affordable way to you know, provide your own at-home HPA refills, and you don't want to have to deal with the loud noise, or if you know, you're like me, you're running an airsoft field, and you just like, you want the cheapest option and quick option to fill HPA for your players, this is probably, or I should say definitely, the best Scuba tank out there on the market right now. Faber FX series. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to any other players looking for a quiet and quick way to fill their tanks at home, or if any other future airsofters think about wanting to start up their own airsoft field, and they're starting on a budget. So with that said, if you got questions, let me know in the comments section below. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys in my future videos, and until next time.